Hello, my name is Trevor Smith with the Association of Professional Dog Trainers. Today we're going to be diving into bite prevention solutions from industry-leading experts. First, we have to ask the question, why do dogs bite? And there's a number of different factors, and here are a few. One is stress from the environment, depending on any sights or sounds or anything in their environment that might trigger a certain response. This may be to protect themselves from whatever is in the environment, but also could be that they're protecting a resource that they find valuable. There also could be some underlying medical issue, whether it be an injury or illness, that is affecting the dog's behavior. Also, excitement could be key. Some dogs, when excited, can bite, but this is not always out of aggressive behavior, but just out of excitement to grab whatever is in front of them. And this could also tie into a training issue as well. And training is a big factor in why dogs bite. There's reactive approaches versus preventative approaches. As you can see here, there is a firefighter reacting to a fire situation. Over 2,900 homes in America burn up due to, you guessed it, laundry lint. Laundry lint stuck in the tube can cause a major house fire. If we take the time to clean it regularly, we can stop a house fire from happening within our own homes. And this is what we got to think about when it comes to dogs. We're talking about bite prevention. We're not talking about bite reactivity. And that's a whole nother topic, but when it comes to this, one of the big factors is that socialization and training. As you can see here in this photo, this isn't an ideal situation for socialization and training. Not only are the dogs picked up and have no way of escaping one another, but they're being shoved nose to nose. And of course, humans interact very affectionately by hugging and getting really close to one another, but not so much with dogs. And we have to remember that. So what are things we can do to help our puppies with socialization training? Of course, there's puppy classes. We can also socialize them to different environments, people, dogs, objects, surfaces. The main key is observation of the behavior and body language and understanding your dog's body language. And that's what I want to focus in on in today's presentation is observation of behavior and body language. Here, Michael Shakashio, a great behaviorist, says it is always preferable to allow dogs to approach and engage with you. This is so essential that we make sure that we are watching our dog's body language before we even try to handle them. One of the biggest reasons that people get bit is what Michael calls magic hand. This is one of the most common ways a person can get bitten, as sometimes the outreached hand can be a threat to some dogs. Dogs do not see hands as always something pleasant to them, and they haven't necessarily been conditioned that hands coming towards the face is a pleasant behavior. And in fact, a lot of dogs associate hands with something bad that's about to happen. Like we said before, one of the main reasons dogs like to bite is to protect a valuable resource. That could be food, that could be a toy, it could even be a person. So we have to understand that. The next tip that Michael has is to help your dog understand that hands aren't such a bad thing. One way we can totally transform this behavior is to simply walk by the puppy while they're eating and dropping in a piece of higher value food into their bowl. This will get the dog to associate people coming towards the bowl as something rewarding and not punishing. If you want to check out more of what Michael Shakashu is doing and getting some more resources in aggression behavior, I definitely recommend checking out aggressivedog.com and themuzzleupproject.com. Next up, we have Grisha Stewart, who says we need to see our role in socialization as scene setters. That way we create environments in which the dog can learn to explore safely, with low fear and low to mid arousal. I gotta say, Grisha Stewart was one of my own personal game changers. She helped me even look further into what we are setting up for a dog when it comes to scenes and how to set up scenes for dogs that are going to get them to relax and be calm and get reinforcement for that behavior versus getting over arousal, getting stressed out, and then getting reinforcement for that behavior by you leaving the situation. One of the greatest resources that I recommend to everybody is the behavior adjustment training book that she has written, BAT 2.0. Here's one of the many different resources inside that training that help you understand how to get a dog to be relaxed and calm. This chart right here is really great about diving into dogs' body language and how to read their body language to make sure that you're not sending them over arousal and when to back up. I love the color coding system here too. When a dog's relaxed, we're in green. And when they start to move closer and closer to the red, we start to hit yellow, orange. This right here is something I send to my clients on a regular basis to help owners understand how they can be great scene setters for their dogs. Grisha Stewart has a lot of awesome online resources, but one of the ones that really stand out right now is our new course called Empowered Puppy Raising. I definitely recommend checking that out. Finally, we have Amy Cook. She says, always use 2 layers of prevention when working with dogs that may act out in their fear. And be very conscious of the forms of pressure the environment, including you, apply. I would also have to agree with this, and this is something that I've heard from many different professionals. Always make sure to have 2 barriers between you and the dog that's acting out with fear behavior or aggressive behavior. It's real important to do this because sometimes management fails. And what can happen is if you feel like you're safe, whether it be the dog's on leash or behind a fence, by doing this, you set your dog up for success, but also make sure they don't get to a point where they can reach whatever they're fearful or aggressive behaviorally to and bite. Like we talked about at the top of this presentation, be aware of all the triggers that are happening in your dog's environment, not just the thing that they're fearful of, but maybe any pressure that they feel from the leash or from you. Be sure that they are first comfortable with any equipment that you put on them, whether it be a leash, collar, harness, muzzle. If they don't like that piece of equipment or have associated that piece of equipment with bad situations, then you need to retrain this equipment or get brand new pieces of equipment they don't have that association to. This is one of the downfalls of muzzle training and accidentally only putting on your dog's muzzle when they're scared or fearful in the environment. They'll start to associate this particular piece of equipment as something that will trigger them into a fearful response. Something that Amy Cook is really good about teaching is having behavioral procedures in place, making sure that your dog understands how to do the behavior you want them to do instead before they get around that fearful stimulus. If you can't get your dog to look at you for attention or sit at your side or come when called, when there's nothing in their environment that they're triggered about, then how do you expect them to want to do those behaviors in an environment with those triggers in place? Finally, let them work in the environment at their own pace. So many times we pressure the dog to get closer and closer to whatever they're fearful of when they're just not ready. Make sure they get to choose how close or how much they want to be around whatever they're fearful of. Amy Cook has a ton of resources for you to check out on playwaydogs.com. Here's some things to consider when making approaches to dogs, whether it be a puppy or an adult dog, and something that you should definitely be teaching all your clients. Avoid rushing. Always when greeting a dog, walk up at a normal pace. Be sure to ask the owner for permission to greet. Avoid staring the dog down. Humans stare at each other for affection and for greeting, but dogs do not like that behavior. Approach sideways. Avoid leaning over. Respect the bubble. This is a big one. Humans have about 2 to 3 foot bubble, where dogs have sometimes 6 feet or more. Make sure that if you take a step towards a dog within that 6-foot bubble that if they decide to increase the distance and get back to 6 feet, so if you get in within 3 to 4 feet of them and they back up to 6 feet away or more again, let them do that and respect that space. And with that, let the dog approach or not. And if they want to be pet and they offer or solicit for petting, always pet gently. As a dog trainer, I can't tell you how good it feels to respect that bubble and let the dog approach. The other day, I was greeting a boxer and wasn't too keen on coming closer to me. So when the dog approached me and I went through these steps, making sure to ask the owner to pet the dog, avoiding staring, approaching sideways, and all this, as I decreased that bubble, the dog backed away. And then guess what I did? I backed away too. And the most amazing thing happened. The boxer looked up, and if a dog could speak in that moment, it was saying, "Thank you, dude." And it came closer and it let me pet them. And it solicited that petting because it was comfortable because I respected the space. It realized that at any point, if I was done, if the boxer was done with being pet by me, that this boxer could walk away and it'd be fine. And I would respect and I'd walk away from it too. And this is big on all the different types of training from Michael, from Grisha, from Amy, all of them. I've heard them talk about this portion of the training and making sure that if the dog chooses to leave the situation and does not want to be a part of what's happening, you have to respect that. And you have to reinforce being relaxed and being calm versus reinforcing the dog for getting over arousal. And it's so often and so true that the only time we let the dog escape, or the only time we escape from the situation is when the dog is over arousal, barking, snarling, lunging, and we tell ourselves, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get the dog out of this situation," and we leave. And the dog learns really quickly that that is how I get out of these situations. But if we respect the bubble and we do these things and we make sure the dog is feeling comfortable and the dog is sniffing the ground and is able to choose when to go and when to come towards the stimulus, and then at that point you reinforce the dog with one of the best reinforcers you can, which is to leave the situation, the dog's going to want to get more and more comfortable and exhibit that same behavior again and again and increase that behavior of being relaxed and calm. So what body language should we be looking for to make sure that we're not sending your dogs into that over arousal situation? Here are just a few. When I say just a few, here is a good place to start. Cowering, licking lips, panting, brows being furrowed, ears to the side or back, moving slowly, acting sleepy or yawning, being hypervigilant. So this is interesting, the fact that both being slow and sleepy is a sign of stress, but also dogs being hypervigilant and looking around their environment. Won't eat a treat from you, pacing, and definitely one of the most important parts is moving away. If the dog doesn't want to be in these situations, we have to respect this from the dog. Now, the number one resource when it comes to bite prevention for dog owners and for dog trainers. That is APDT.com. I know it sounds silly, but hear me out. On the APDT website, you have the Locate a Trainer button. And if you are a member and you sign up for this resource, you can actually build yourself a profile. And this will list you in a resource that people can search by zip code to find you or other trainers in their area. How many times have you got a call where somebody is in a completely different zip code, are far away, and you aren't going to be able to help them in these situations with these behavioral problems? Well, this is a great place to send people to find the person in their area that they can get help from. But also, something for trainers that to think or consider is we aren't all in this by ourselves. And if you ever feel lost or don't know where to turn, sometimes a local trainer in your area could be a helpful resource. And this could be an amazing resource or opportunity for you to bounce ideas off other trainers in your area and to help and assist. Plus, it could be a way that you can share setup situations or scene situations If they can bring a dog or if they can bring themselves to an area to help you set up really good scenes and really good situations for BAT protocols or whatever training that you decide to do, this is a great, great place to find trainers in your area that can support you with any behavioral cases that you might have. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation and got something out of it that can help you on your path to discovering more about bite prevention and helping not only you, but your clients as well. Thanks for joining today, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me or APDT for more training resources.